I have personal experience with Deidre. She has treated me, and she is so holistic in her treatment that I didn't care about her credentials, but she is really credentialed. She started as a massage therapist. She has so many degrees, I don't even know where to begin. She's a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and she's a certified herbalist. But more than that, she sees the whole person. I went in, as you may remember, I had that blood pressure episode last year this time, and I went in and saw her around that time, and she insisted I call her when I got home, and then she called me later that night, and then she called me the next day. And I can remember when medicine used to be practiced that way. Unfortunately, insurance companies have made that impossible, but that's how Deidre operates. She's currently finishing certification in sports medicine acupuncture programs, so she keeps learning and she keeps giving. And I'm going to let her tell you all about how she practices.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Marion. I'm so excited to be here with you all and share with you something that I'm not only just passionate about, that I've dedicated my life to, and I'd like to help you all on your wellness journey. And again, my name is Deidre Trupalio, and I'm a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and a licensed acupuncturist here in Maryland. Before we get into the presentation, I'd like to invite you all to participate in a demonstration. So if you could find a point between the thumb and the index finger, and right here, this webbing, if you could just begin to massage that area. So using thumb pressure and just kind of pressing on that, you might feel a little tender, slowing down your breathing as you press into this area. It might feel sore, maybe even like a bruise, or it might just feel like pressure. So I want you to also then switch to the other side between the thumb and the index finger, pressing between that webbing. Again, might feel some tenderness. And what you just have done is had an introduction to East Asian medicine. This point is one of over 400 commonly used acupuncture points in the body, and this is part of the large intestine channel. It is the master and command point of any issues with the face or head. So if you have runny eyes, a congested nose, or any kind of sickness involving any of those, the eyes, nose, mouth, or ears, this is a great point to help alleviate that pain. Why that is? Well, because that channel runs from this finger through the wrist, up the elbow, through the shoulder, and then actually ends at the opposite nostril. How they figured this out thousands of years ago, that still remains a mystery, but congratulations, you guys have just had a little sample of what we're going to be learning a little bit more about today. So today we're going to be discussing and defining what is East Asian medicine. Maybe you've heard of it before, but you're curious to know how it applies or can be applied to you. We're going to be discussing the different modalities most often used by EAM practitioners, and just for the sake of this presentation, EAM is the shortened form of East Asian medicine. The third aspect we're going to be discussing is the mechanism behind acupuncture. Oftentimes I get asked, how does it work and what does it treat? Well, we're going to be talking about that a little bit more today too. The fourth objective is we're going to be looking at this winter season, which I know we're 11 days away from the winter solstice, which is the possibly coldest time of the year and the shortest day. And we're going to be looking at that through an EAM lens and what that means, and how to live more harmoniously as we move into this next season. Fifth, we're going to be discussing how to integrate East Asian medicine and Western medicine and how they actually work very well together. And sixth, we're going to be helping you find a licensed practitioner in your area, and I have some great resources for you as well as a handout that you could take home today or will be available online. I like to begin with one of my favorite quotes by Confucian philosopher Lao Tzu. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And I would like to help you all on your wellness journey by integrating East Asian medicine. So what is East Asian medicine? It has been practiced for over 3,000 years, It originated in China and then evolved out of Japan, Korea, Vietnam, and several other countries, and now is practiced worldwide by millions in the healthcare facilities. It's always promoting the sense of health and healing and trying to balance the body. They view the body as inseparable from the mind and the spirit. So sometimes we might just be treating the physical aspect, but the mind, body, and spirit are inseparable in East Asian medicine. This also includes 5 branches, and acupuncture might be the one that you're most familiar with, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit more throughout the presentation. Another branch is moxibustion. You can think of this as heat therapy, in which it involves the burning of the herb mugwort, either close to the skin or actually on the skin, to promote warmth and to help alleviate pain and many other issues. The third branch involves herbal medicine and food therapy, again, learning how to adapt to the season and to eat a more balanced part of your life to keep you healthy. We're going to be talking about that. The fourth branch is Tui Na, or therapeutic massage. You can actually think of that as almost a combination of massage, chiropractic, and physical therapy aspects, which again, I'll be talking about that next. And Qigong, which involves, it's a mindful meditation with breath work. And we're going to be discussing those next. So these different modalities, most commonly used by EAM practitioners, starting with acupuncture. So like I said, there are 400 points in the body commonly used, but there's closer to more like 2,000 points. There are 6 yin channels that it starts in the chest and goes out to the fingertips back to the face down to the toes, and the toes back to the chest. And the 6 yin and 6 yang channels actually run everywhere in the front and the back of the body as well. These channels are highly innervated with the nervous system, lymphatic system, and vascular system. So when a needle is inserted into one of these points in the body, it sends a cascade of neurotransmitters and improves the dilation in the channel, thus alleviating pain and helping to promote immunity. So you can think of acupuncture when there are those single points, like I said. Those points work well by themselves, but when they are combined with other points, it's similar to having a combination to a lock. So that perfect combination will open up the magic treasure chest, and this is similar to the effect that it has on the body when you're using different channels and working with the different points. Next, herbal medicine. So this is involving over 13,000 different single herbs. There are supposedly over 100,000 different herbal formulas. So those single herbs are combined into a formula to have a therapeutic effect on the body. Now, this is used for everything from, as you can see in the picture, you might already be using herbal medicine such as ginger or cinnamon. These are 2 very warming herbs for the body. And if you add them to a tea, it can help with helping with the digestion. For example, EAM practitioners might tell you a lot about avoiding cold, especially as we go into this winter time, because cold constricts the body. So if you're drinking ice cold water with ice, that actually puts a heavier burden on your digestive fire or your intestines and helping with processing everything. And the same thing with food therapy. They often talked about eating according to season. So local foods and fruits and vegetables and things that you can incorporate into your everyday life, I'm going to be discussing a little bit later. The third modality most often used by EAM practitioners is this type of Tui Na massage, which involves rolling of the fingers and the wrist and the elbow on various parts of the body, and rolling, kneading, pressing, and massaging in a way to help, again, working with the same channels that acupuncturists do, to alleviate pain, increase range of motion, and to improve that blood flow to the area. And you might have also heard of acupressure, which is working with those same channels in the body by using thumb finger pressure. The next modality used is a type of movement therapy or energetics. Has anyone heard of Qigong or Tai Chi? Okay, oh wow, excellent. So then you already know that you are focused and relaxing into these postures and syncing up your breath with the movements. And that allows your mind to settle. And that allows, again, these channels to open up. It actually also helps with improving balance and thus helping to lessen the likelihood of hip fractures, which are very common as we get older. And the last modality is, there are two methods. They're called soft tissue mobilizations, which is just a fancy word for saying bringing more rich blood and oxygen to these channels and the tissues. Any blockage in the body or stagnation brings about pain. We see this in the Western aspect of medicine when we have heart disease and you can have a stroke or a heart attack. Also with anything else involving, let's say, a blocked lymph system and you get that, the glands swell up and you have trouble, let's say, swallowing or a very sore throat. So the same thing with these soft tissue mobilizations. Cupping, which you may have seen the Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps with those big circular red marks on his back. So there are different types of cupping, but one of them that's most well known, it's called fire cupping, in which a lit cotton ball soaked in alcohol is put inside the cup, and as the cotton ball in the lit cotton ball is taken away, the cup is placed on the skin, and as the oxygen leaves, it starts to create this reverse pressure suction, and it almost feels like a deep tissue massage. Again, this is to promote that harmony and that balance and restoring any kind of, alleviating any kind of pain in that area or on the affected channels. Similar to cupping is a technique called gua sha. Apologize. Gua sha, which is involving a smooth edge tool which is then scraped against the skin to again bring that rich blood and help with the cellular waste leaving those areas. So those are just some of the most commonly used modalities in East Asian medicine. Next, we're going to be talking about the mechanism of acupuncture. Why? Because a lot of people have heard about it, they're curious about it, but they don't know how a point here can affect something like the face, or points in the foot can affect the face. Another thing that I forgot to mention was this point is great for anyone that suffers from frontal headaches or migraines. So that's just one more thing to keep in mind with this point on the hand. So how it does this is by regulating the nervous system. The nervous system is made up of two parts, the autonomic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is responsible for that fight or flight. So if you've ever felt really nervous about something, or you're driving your car and someone cuts you off and that gets switched on, that's your autonomic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is what's turned on or helping to relax your body when you receive acupuncture. It involves the insertion of thin, only about the width of a human hair, needles into any of these points, like I said, in combination with one another to help alleviate pain. And what it does is it releases tons of neurotransmitters. You might have heard of serotonin and dopamine. These are those feel-good sensations, and that's why it's also very important for mood enhancement. Again, we're not just treating the body, but also the mind and emotions are a huge part of what we're working with. It also improves the microcirculation. Like I said, the dilation of the blood vessels when a needle is inserted, that helps to bring more of that energetic flow to those areas. And it boosts immunity because of helping to improve the lymphatic flow in the body. So the lymph system, when we get sick, it's not moving, and we basically need to help give it a little nudge. And last, hormone balancing. This is something else that acupuncture is fantastic with helping, especially with women's health. And it's been highly researched that it also helps with fertility. So there are hormones such as luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone that help, and estrogen and progesterone that are regulated when you are receiving acupuncture. All of these are part of how it works. But the million-dollar question is, what does acupuncture actually treat? And I would like to give you guys this question. Is there anything that you think acupuncture does not treat? Any ideas, if anyone wants to shout anything out? Anything? Okay. Well, good. That was a trick question because it turns out acupuncture treats and can treat everything, especially once we learned about the different neurotransmitters and how it relaxes the body. It decreases the stress hormone, cortisol. And these are 20 of the most well-researched conditions that is available. And the first 10 are pain conditions. And this is not even including 50 other highly researched conditions. So starting with back pain, a lot of people come into my office suffering with this. NIH has done a significant study involving 800 participants spread across 3 groups. Now, these people were divided into one group receiving just standard medical care. The second group received 15 acupuncture treatments across 3 months. And the third group received the same 15 treatments across those 3 months, in addition to maintenance treatments. Now, they found that 6 months later and a year later for treating back pain, those 2 groups receiving acupuncture actually had significantly lower pain levels. So it's just one of many different ways to work with the body. Oh, sorry, not yet. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the other conditions such as neck pain, osteoarthritis, headache and migraine. We already just learned a point that you can use at home to help alleviate that. Sciatica. A lot of people have that pain that shoots down the back, and for some reason they don't know how to fix it. So they might go to their doctor or physical therapist and they're still suffering with this. Acupuncture works very well. Why? Because of that nervous system turning on and opening up those channels to alleviate that pain. Also, post-operative pain. So when you're going through rehabilitation, acupuncture helps with that, as well as chronic prostatitis, irritable bowel syndrome. So I didn't mention that acupuncture and East Asian medicine helps with any kind of gastrointestinal disorders as well. So whether that's celiac, Crohn's disease, or other things, and they'll also give you maybe herbal medicine or different food therapy strategies to help you with that. Fibromyalgia, this is another condition that's been highly studied. Autoimmune issues are on the rise, and this is one more way that we can help treat this. Because in East Asian medicine, we are addressing the whole person, not just the symptoms. And seasonal allergies, so allergic rhinitis with those itchy, watery eyes, itchy skin anywhere. Again, acupuncture can help with that. Nausea and vomiting in cancer patients and or for women in pregnancy. This is another condition that is very commonly treated. Urinary incontinence, asthma, any kind of lung issues, whether it's COPD, bronchitis. Again, as we go into this winter season and we're coughing and unsure where this is coming from, acupuncture can help treat that as well. Mood disorders such as depression and anxiety, also very helpful with using acupuncture in East Asian medicine. And not just smoking cessation, but any addictions. There's a 5-point protocol in both ears that actually helps stimulate the vagus nerve. So it's helping with impulse control and other things. This list doesn't also include everything from sleeping, so anyone that has trouble sleeping, falling asleep or staying asleep, as well as any symptoms related to menopause, such as mood swings and hot flashes. And like I said, there are more than 50 other conditions that are well researched. So what is East Asian medicine based on? Well, it's this concept as old as time, yin and yang. Yin and Yang, if you've seen this symbol before, the Tai Chi symbol, it shows that that light aspect and the dark aspect are not a duality, but actually a part of one another with the circle in each of those little swirls. So yin is characterized typically by nighttime, darkness, rest and inactivity, and cold and winter as we're entering into. A really good example of this, if any of you have kids or grandchildren, you might see that they are these little balls of energy that just can't stop. That is an example of the extreme yang energy that children have. And as we get older, we become more yin-like and slowing down and needing more rest and more sleep. And since we are going into this winter season, I wanted to have us all look at it through the EAM lens. There are different phases or elements that EAM uses. So this one that we're in, winter, it's the water element. The next element in this phase cycle is wood, fire, earth, and metal. We just came out of the metal element, which has to do with the autumn or fall, with change. And now that we're in the winter season associated with the water, you can think of small bodies of water like a pond. What is happening? It's freezing, it's slowing down. We don't see turtles or fish popping their heads out anymore. The leaves are all off the trees. And just like the previous slide talked about this concept of yin and yang, there's also a yin and yang aspect of everything in the body. So for example, for the water element, the yin organ is the kidneys and the yang is the urinary bladder. Again, we know that these both work together viewed through Western medicine, but in EAM, one way to help strengthen or support the kidneys is by simply eating foods that are associated with this element, which is the color black or blue-black. Why is it black? Well, again, at the depths of the ocean, where light doesn't even permeate, it's that dark black color, that mysteriousness. And the kidneys, if you eat foods that are like black beans, black rice, there's wood ear mushrooms called black fungus, black sesame seeds. These are 3 foods that you can add, as well as seaweed or kelp. Why? Because they come out of the ocean and associated with the water element. And also blackberries or blueberries. These are all foods to help keep your kidneys strong. And just like the colors associated with the water element, there's a flavor that's associated, and it's that salty flavor. And we know that we need a little bit of salt, so electrolytes are very important for the body, but too much salt lead to high blood pressure and other conditions that might affect the kidneys and urinary bladder. And this is now a time of slowing down and reflecting. A lot of people are rushing around for the holidays, trying to find the perfect gifts or getting ready for family. But it's important to remember to be like water in this winter season and slow down, have a cup of ginger or cinnamon tea and relax, because if you don't, the East Asian medicine teaches that you will actually have issues leading into that next season, so springtime. So it's actually the preceding season that has an effect on what comes out during that next season. For example, the seasonal allergies, it's interesting that it comes out in fall and springtime. Why? Because of the activities we're doing maybe in summer and or the winter time before the next season arrives. And I want to go back to this mindful meditative practice. Again, we're going into a new year, and some people think that it's the best time to start a new exercise routine. I gotta join the gym, I have to start running 20 miles a day and lose 50 pounds. Well, instead of doing that, to live in harmony with this season is to slow everything down. And by starting a practice of Qigong, this is just one way to help you. Qi translates roughly to the life force or life vital force energy that flows in all of us. It's what keeps us alive and keeps our cells alive. And Gong translates to cultivation. So a practice of Qigong involves the cultivation of this life force energy. And like I said, it helps with preventing falls, improving balance, and improving your immune system. Just one more thing to consider. So after hearing about what acupuncture treats, how you can apply East Asian medicine, you're probably wondering, well, how can this apply to me, especially that I'm seeing Western doctors? Well, just like that yin-yang symbol, I want you to remember that they actually work harmoniously together. And for example, anyone with low back pain, you can pick any kind of condition, but let's say you already go to your primary care physician and they've given you pain medicine or you've already been taking ibuprofen. So that's not helping with the back pain. They might suggest you go see an orthopedic surgeon to get another opinion. Well, before surgery or after surgery, you might also be seeing a physical therapist. You might also be even seeing a neurologist to help with this pain that's, like I said, maybe not just affecting the low back, but shooting down into the feet. Well, after seeing a physical therapist, a chiropractor, and all these other medical professionals, instead of thinking acupuncture as a last resort, I invite and encourage you to think of East Asian medicine as something to be looked into or give it a shot first. So acupuncture still works well if you're taking these pain meds, and it works harmoniously with these other medical professionals. So why can't I just ask my primary care physician, where are the acupuncturists? Well, as of April 2025, there are over 1 million medical doctors in this country. There are only roughly 36,000 acupuncturists. What that means is there just aren't enough of us out there, and people just don't know, and medical doctors don't know where to find us, which is why I made this very handy step-by-step list for you with 6 tips that the handout goes a little bit more into detail exactly how to find someone. But first, maybe you want to determine your needs. If you're looking for a specialist, East Asian medicine practitioners are trained in helping any condition in the mind and body. However, maybe you want someone that is a little bit more skilled in dealing with low back pain or headaches or fibromyalgia. So first, consider what you're actually looking for. Second, you can start with searching online directories. There are 2 wonderful resources, the Maryland Acupuncture Society. They actually have a very convenient locate a practitioner. So you can look up where you're located and search the radius as far as if there's a practitioner in your area. And the National Certification Commission for Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine, the NCCAOM, that also has a wonderful resource for finding a licensed acupuncturist anywhere in the country. So if you have friends or family in other areas, not necessarily in Maryland, you can have someone go on there, and those are also nationally certified acupuncturists. Third, if you are using health insurance, there's a chance that you can look at your health insurance provider's network and see if they have a list of acupuncturists in that area. And fourth, online reviews and ratings. So these are just a few. There are plenty more out there. Yelp and Google reviews or health grades. These are just some of the easiest ways to kind of look online and see what's around in your area. Otherwise, if you're just like me driving down the highway and you see an acupuncture clinic or a wellness center, you can look and contact these clinics directly. So you can give them a call. Chances are they have some kind of consultation where you can see if it's a good fit for you and if you feel comfortable with the practice. So they should talk with you about that. And lastly, we know word of mouth is the best way. You're 10 times more likely to go to someone if you know a friend or a family member that's been helped with an acupuncturist or East Asian medicine. I forgot to mention, as far as acupuncture goes and herbal medicine with those single herbs, they work well by themselves. Like I said, ginger, cinnamon. In the summertime, you might have mint added to your water. Why? Because mint has a cooling effect on the body. They have looked into all the different temperatures and what these tastes do, what kind of a therapeutic effect they have in the body. So those single herbs work well, but when they're combined into an herbal formula, you can think of it like music, an orchestra. So there's the piano playing their music notes. Then there might be a saxophone or a viola. Yes, this is a symphony involving band and all various types of instruments like the trumpet. So when they're all played together, they create this beautiful music. And that's exactly what an herbal formula, as viewed through this herbal medicine, is doing in the body. So today we have defined East Asian medicine. We have looked at and discussed the most commonly used modalities. And we've talked about how acupuncture works and what it treats. We've looked at the winter season through an East Asian medicine lens and how to live more harmoniously with the change of seasons. We've also talked about how you can integrate East Asian and Western medicine into your life and how they work very well together. Sixth, finding a licensed practitioner. We've hopefully helped you figure that out as well. And like all good things that come to an end, my 1,000-mile journey led me to experiencing something that was only a dream of mine, getting to visit the Great Wall of China when I studied with 13 of my classmates over in Beijing in April 2019. So I thank you all for coming today, and I hope that you will all be able to integrate East Asian medicine into your wellness journey. Thank you very much.
No, I'll hold it on a little bit so people can.